Alright guys, here we are for the second video on the Operation Sports sliders. This time we're doing Preston against Bolton, which is a rivalry game, and the reason specifically why I've chosen this game to cover is because usually in these rivalry games they offer way more physicality, and straight away the thing that I noticed in this game, you'll see there's about 5 Preston players all pushing upfield against me, so they're using like a high press or whatever it is, and again it's not really realistic. I've never known Preston to press like that, but the one good thing I suppose is that it gives us a little bit of room going forward. There should be some room in behind them, and realistically that's what you would think would happen, but again it's just the way that I guess FIFA is coded. An early chance there for Preston. But yeah, they seem to press really high. Again, you can see this here. They're running around, chasing me down, and trying to get the ball off me. So, really interesting using these sliders that I discussed in the last video against Middlesbrough. Using the same sliders here, but obviously the match circumstances is a little bit different because it is Preston and they're going to be trying extra hard to beat me. The one thing that's really noticeable straight away is look how easy it is for Preston to close me down, and I can't apply that same amount of pressure to them. So when they have the ball in their half and they're starting from the goalie, I can't have 5 or 6 players press the ball the way that they do to me. You'll see here we score our opening goal. Benny Ashley-Seal in the box with a great header, a great cross from John Bailey there. But what I was saying there was specifically, it's so hard to get any kind of decent press against the computer. They just seem to be able to do it so easily, and yet you try and do it, and it's like every single time you're pressing the switch button to drag players over, and by the time you get over there, they've already passed it out. It's almost like not effective at all. And just as ineffective as the pressing is also the problem with, as I said in the last video, is the defending. Defending should be done as a team, and you can't defend as a team on this because the computer doesn't give you the chance to. When you're under the cosh by the computer, for some reason your players do not help you out at all. They don't come back to help you out the way that the computer's players do. When you're attacking them, they seem to be able to respond quicker. They seem to be able to have players come back and help them out, essentially. When they're attacking you, the same computer players do not respond. They just basically stand in that one position and don't help out at all, which is infuriating. Like, it's really, when you're playing on short halves like I used to, when you're playing on short halves, it's really infuriating because you end up running out of time, and you feel like, I said this to my friend last week, is you feel like you're actually a bad FIFA player when really it's not you that's bad at the game, it's that the game's been coded badly. Because if you've got instructions for players to come back, you see here, there's 2 players there stood there, and the fullback's getting rinsed, and nobody's coming back to help him out. Why is my midfielder just stood there? Look at Gilby and the other midfielder, they're stood in the centre of the field. They're not marking anybody, they just stood there. I'm having to drag players back into the thing to try and mark this attack, and now I've had to pull him back. And again, if I switch players, he just stops running. He doesn't respond. There's no effort by those players to track back at all. You'll see here we've got a little bit of a counter, but then they managed to get back. A few rare occasions that they've actually fouled me. That's one of the good things about playing in a rivalry game, what's considered a rivalry game, is that they do actually foul you. There is actually some fouling going on by the computer, and that's one thing that I did mention in the last game, the Middlesbrough game, is that I didn't feel like the opposition fouled you enough. I guess what the correction should be that It's not that they don't foul you enough, it's that the referee doesn't call them enough. When you are fouled, nothing gets done. You can see here Ben Pearson's all over the back of Darcy, and he doesn't call it for at least 3 or 4 fouls until he slides in and takes him out, and then he does call it. But that foul should have happened somewhere around the centre circle, was when it started to happen, and they didn't even acknowledge it. You know, he's pulling his shirt and he's pulling back on him, but nothing gets done. You know, there are times I play this game and there's so much enjoyment from it, and then other times it's just so frustrating, because somewhere within the midst of this game, provided you have the right settings, you can get some kind of enjoyable experience. But it's like I've told Tom before in messages, that it's so few and far between. You know, and we kind of laugh and joke about it, but a lot of the times it is genuine FIFA rage, because it's so frustrating. Like, you know yourself you're not a bad FIFA player. If you've been playing FIFA for over 10 years, I'm pretty sure you know FIFA by now, and you've probably, you know the basics of it enough to know that you're not a bad FIFA player. It's just that when you're conceding goals not because you're bad, but because the game's bad, and because there's just a lack of effort in the coding. And broken, almost, you could say broken, because the players, even now, look at this attack by Preston, the players that were in central midfield were not tracking back to help out at all. They were just stood there on the edge of the box, just like, yeah, it's alright, just attack our goal. You know, like, we'll just stand there and wait for the ball to come to us. There's no effort on them to help out the defence at all. I'm hoping we'll see more of that in this game, because I felt like, even though I complained about it a lot in the Middlesbrough game, we didn't see enough of it, and I'm pretty sure it happens a lot in this game. I feel like there's not enough, in FIFA in general, there's not enough variety in how the computer attacks you. There always seems to be the meaty challenge there. There always seems to be like a generic cookie cutter way in which they try to attack you. And like I said, I didn't realise at first, when I was playing it on those 6-minute halves, I didn't realise how bad it was. You know, until I probably got into about season 2. And I was just like, man, this is just the same thing over and over again. They're not actually... And you want, like I said before, when you play Preston away, or when you play Millwall away, or Rotherham away, you want to make it feel like it's a different team playing you. You know, you don't want to make it feel like it's always like the way that Liverpool play every single time, and it always feels like how Preston are playing now, pressing me up the field. That's basically what Liverpool do. They press high up the field, and it just seems to be that every single match where the computer wants to make it difficult, so it's a match that you should lose, that's the only way it knows how to play. It's the only way it knows how to make it competitive, and that just seems a bit one-dimensional to me. In football, there's more than that one way of attacking, you know? There's ways to break teams down without having to play the Liverpool way. You can play, you know, you don't have to always gegenpress a team to death, you know, to get results. There's different ways of doing it, and I don't feel like in FIFA there's enough variety there. Like there's just always the same way of attacking you. We see a nice goal there by Darcy with the through ball by the striker. And now you'll see here is the Reese, I think it is. You'll see here, look, you just like basically, I'm having to run round. I won the ball there. But the midfielders basically just stood there. I did well to get the ball out there, and then a lovely break. I think this goal, this should have been a goal. There's a lovely bit of skill here. And then this little dink, I thought, oh, he's going to score. And then they clear it before I could get it in. I thought that, even though I didn't score from it, I thought that particular build-up of play and what happened, it was quite exciting, and it's not something that I'd seen on 6-minute halves before it. Again, playing it on 10-minute halves seems to have opened the game up a little bit more, and I'm certainly enjoying the experience more than I was before. There's less rage, that's for sure. 6 minutes half to me now just feel pointless. And I used to play, the thing is that I used to play it on 10-minute halves before. And I just ended up going down to 6 to try and sort of get more of the season done. But I think if anything, you're sacrificing quality really just for getting the season done, and it's not really worth it in the end. So that would be my advice, is don't play 6-minute halves, because it's just not worth it. You don't get a good experience from 6-minute halves. You see, what I'd like to see here from the computer is, when a guy goes on a long run like that, I'd love to have seen one of them try to bring him down. Because I think in real life they would have done that. The fullback would have caught up to him and brought him down, you know. Just tugged at his shirt or slid in and tried to get the throw in or something. He wouldn't have just let him run all the way down like that. Thought Wilson did well there and then lost the ball. He's like, whoops. And then defender comes in. Ashley Seal's going to get a card there for that challenge. We're just going to approach half-time. I think we've seen probably enough of the examples that I was talking about where your midfielders don't track back properly. And I'm not aware of anybody yet that's been able to really fix that problem, because it's a problem within the game. You know, the formations, the instructions, none of those things seem to... They kind of help a little bit, but they don't seem to stop it completely to the point where, you know, you can actually get the instructions to work properly and that the midfielders will track back and help out. And it isn't just the central midfielders. You know, if you... The way that I've set my team up, my wide midfielders, so Zoran Saric and John Bailey, they're being asked to come back on defence. So when we don't have the ball, I want them to protect the fullback and help him out. And you saw in that first half from Preston is that when Potts had it on the right-hand side, he was basically at leisure being able to pass between his own fullback and my fullback, and both him and the fullback was ganging up on my fullback, and my winger just basically stood there. You know, the left midfielder, Bailey, he just stood there as if to say, well, you know, best of luck with your defending there, just let me know when you've won the ball. And that's not... You're not asking him to do that. You know, like, there's no... I don't understand why they haven't coded that properly so that he does track back. You know, I've played this game, as some of you probably saw from my my channel, I've played this game as Manchester United. So even though these players that I'm playing with are ranked in the 70s, you could say, well, maybe it's a defensive awareness, maybe it's the ratings of the players. But I've played with some of the best teams on FIFA, and none of those track back anyway. I can have a defender rated 87, and he still doesn't track back. It's just within the game. It's like, it's something that I don't remember it being this bad on FIFA 17 or FIFA 18. I don't know. It's only this game that this FIFA 21 that I've noticed it become a real big problem. And that could have been a real big problem there. Ashley Seal already on a yellow card goes sliding in. Referee doesn't end up booking him, but I end up taking him off for Moussa Diagne, a young striker from Senegal. He just changes instructions to get him behind because he's a bit more pacier. But that's the truth of it, is that no matter what you seem to do, you know, whether it's getting better defenders, whether it's getting better midfielders, formation changes, things like that, they just don't seem to work. If you guys have got any ideas, if something's worked for you, by all means, post it in the comments so that I can take a look at it. I'd love to take a look at your suggestions if you've got suggestions. And you'll see here, look, same again, right there. You can look at Gilby just stood there. He's just stood there like, nah, it's alright, I don't want to bother helping out. Both, and the guy there with the red boots is Alistair Main. He's my central defensive midfielder, and he's not even tracking back. He should be in the box when that attack's being developed with Preston. Alistair Main should be in the box. And what's strange about this formation here, I'm just wondering, I don't think I could actually do that, actually. One of the things that I noticed actually on that attempt was that Alistair Main should be in the middle, and Gilby was where Main should be, and Main was where Gilby should be, and for some reason, you can see it even now, my central defensive midfielder is way back here, and he's not even busting a gut to get back. So this basically shows you right now the problems that are in the game is that Alistair Main's right here, this guy in the middle with the red boots, and he's basically, he shouldn't be that far up the field. You know, he's not even making an effort to track back now, he's just jogging. Like, he's just basically just like, yeah, I'm not interested. I'm having to physically pull players over just to get involved in defending. Look at the three of them right there. Like, what is that about? How is that? How does that make any sense? They wouldn't just stand there on the edge of the box while the defenders are getting, you know, attacked. They just, like, you get back and help out to win the ball back. It beggars belief how they can make a game like this. You know, there's so many good things about FIFA that I enjoy, but stuff like that, you just think, why is that even in the game? Like, just so you concede, like, you concede, pardon the French, but you concede really, really shit goals. And a lot of the time, like I said, it's not really, you think, how, if it's in the game and you can't actually, whatever you do, instructions, stuff like that, you can see here on this menu, Alistair Main sat just in front of the top of the semicircle on the edge of the area, but he's never at any point in this game, he's never in that position, and he never tracks back. And I could have that, I could use one of the best central defensive midfielders, I could put Kante there and it's still the same, so it's not to do with the ratings of the players, it's to do with the fact that they've coded it wrong and they've not been asked to change it. It's just not been something that they've fixed. You know, if it was something visual on FIFA Ultimate Team, they'd be quick to fix it. But this, to me, some of these things that I'm pointing out here are gameplay breaking. Like, it's to do with the gameplay. Like, when you can see these things happening time and time again, and you concede goals because the game's not coded in the right way, and you can't find instructions to fix it, then what are you supposed to do? You know, this certainly wasn't a feature in 2 or 3 FIFAs ago. I weren't conceding goals like this. You know, I remember on FIFA 16, FIFA 17, you know, it's like, I know a lot of people said, well, you conceded way too many goals from crosses, but the fact is that in football, you do attack teams by turning over the fullbacks and getting crosses into the box. You know, that's one of the ways, different ways that you can actually attack teams, and one of the more common ways that it happens. On this game, when they beat your fullback, they get to the byline and then just dick around with it, because they know that they can get the fullback to come forward and they can basically just triangle pass between the fullback and the thinger until you drag your men out of position, your central midfielder, you drag him over to help, and then all of a sudden your central defensive midfielder is off having fucking dinner with somebody, and then just leaves their guy to come running in and hit a shot from the centre. So it's painfully obvious once you've played a good proportion of games. It's obvious. This was funny. He sort of like, the goalkeeper got to it. I think he tried to do a Rene Higuita and do the scorpion kick, but failed. Declan Rudd. You'll see as well in this game. So I brought Bakuna on into CDM. And maybe we'll see an example of what I was talking about. So Bakuna is slightly a little bit better than Alistair Main. But you'll see from, hopefully when Preston attack, you'll see that Bakuna's not where he should be. We just see here, here's Bakuna's shot. Not a bad one actually. First shot. Preston do actually score on me. But we've basically got another 20 or so minutes in this game. 63rd minute. Oh, off the crossbar. That was a great chance to go 3-0 up. For the most part, the sliders do a lot of work in taking out a lot of the frustration that I had before. So I'm glad that they've been suggested and that, you know, somebody's taken the time. The community, I guess, has taken the time to go through it and make the game a little bit more bearable. And I know that in future iterations of FIFA, I know for a fact, even if I go back and play FIFA on an older title, I will not be using the 6-minute half things. That was a scything challenge. So, looking at this here, he's going to get booked for that. When Preston were attacking there, Bakuna wasn't where he should be. You can see there that the guy in the middle is not Bakuna. I'm not sure why Keane Bryan's all the way up the field. Here's Bakuna. He's all the way up the field as well, but Diagne scores. Moussa Diagne. That's his first goal for Bolton, actually. Since joining from Club Bruges. And again, the two players that were furthest up the field was my centre-back and my central defensive midfielder. You know, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. They're certainly not where they should be. You can see quite clearly on that map, on the formation, Keane Bryan's a left centre-back and Bakuna's a central defensive midfield, so I don't know why he was one of the furthest forward. I mean, I go through the process of selecting instructions for the game, and I hope that when I ask my winger to cut inside, that's something, he's going to make those cut inside runs to the box, that he's actually going to, they're going to make the effort and they're going to follow through with the instructions that I'm asking. You can see here I'm actually positioning Bakuna to be even further back. And in that example of Preston attacking and then us attacking and scoring, he was nowhere to be found. He wasn't even in the central defensive midfield, but if anything, he was like a second striker. He was furthest up the field, and he ended up playing Keane Bryan through, who was in a forward position, which is nonsense, really. So now Bakuna's back where he should be. I was hoping we might have seen, we've got 20 minutes to go. I'm hoping we might see an example of Bakuna. So he stood there in that position in central defensive midfield. I'm hoping that we'll get to see something here. Oh, he did well there, John Bailey. And across there to Moussa Diagne. Oh, he just couldn't get it across to Saric. And he get it away. Maybe this is where Preston score, I think. Maybe. Just kind of wanted to see the thing develop so that I could see them actually do it. Yeah. So he's chipped that ball over the top. Here they come. And then cross into the box. So my two central defensive midfielders, look at where Bakuna is, and look at where, I think it's Gilby or did it bring Sammy Grom back on? I'm not sure. It's just infuriating, like knowing that you can't literally. The instructions are there to tell them to do this specific thing, but then they don't follow it through because of shitty coding or whatever you want to call it. Look at Bakunia there. The back four's being attacked and he's basically just... He's not where he should be. I think this might be coming up where they score. So now this is what I'm talking about. They're messing around with it on the wings because they know they can outman you in terms of having more men selected. This is the goal. And once again, you know, the defensive midfielders, there's no pressure from the defensive midfielders to help the defence out. You see, if anything, Bacunia's moving away from the ball. He doesn't even go in to close Ben Pearson down. And that's the one thing that you'd want him to do when the guy gets the ball there. You'd want him to close him down. It's just really disappointing. You know, when you played as much career mode as I have, you know, when you've played, you know, well over hundreds of games on career mode, not on just this console, but on previous incarnations of FIFA, given how many times I've played career mode, to see like that's the only way that they can attack and that's the only way that they can score goals is because of a major flaw in the game. And, you know, they can't fix it, otherwise they would have done by now. Loads of people on Reddit and loads of people on the OS Sliders forum have mentioned it. You know, they said that if you turn off tactical defending and put on legacy defending, that it helps you stop that because, you know, midfielders will track back, but they don't. You know, I've got it exactly how the OS Sliders forum have told me to have it, and my midfielders aren't tracking back. You know, and that goes to without saying my wingers are doing the same thing. My wingers don't help out the fullbacks unless I specifically have them come over and mark them. You'll see in the game that if I'm not controlling, I'm only ever controlling one player at a time, even though I have access to the whole team. But the team just kind of moves around in sort of like almost like a zombie-like state. You know, they don't seem to be... They're saying that there's intelligence in there, but there isn't really, is there? Like, they're just running around in sort of a zombie-like general following of the ball, general pattern of play. You know, and then when you don't have control of those players, you're relying on the coding then to pick up the loose ends, and it's quite obvious that when the computer attacks you in any way, shape or form, your players just basically... they stop behaving the way that they should. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that when you're attacking them, they seem to be able to control far more players and have far more pressure on your players. I mean, I want it to be difficult, but I also want it to be somewhat realistic. And when you see them attacking you, and then your own midfielders are just stood there on the edge of the box, not actually doing anything, it kind of takes away that realism. You think, well, why would he not do anything about that? Why would he just stand there and not do anything? It doesn't make sense. Almost scored a fifth there, but Moussa Diagne had come off the bench and scored 2. And I think he only got like a 6.4 rating. That's another thing that Tom mentioned in a message to me about, for some reason, the ratings for players sometimes were dipping, and it's like an inexplicable reason. Like, why is he only beginning with a 6.4 if he scored 2 off the bench? You know, shouldn't he be at least on a 7.5 after getting a brace? You see the Preston players are just dead on the legs right now. But that's basically my summary of the Operation Sliders. and more so in this second video about the effects and being able to combat how to have your central midfielders track back. If you guys have any idea of how to, prevent this issue and how to fix it, then please do let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your suggestions. Playing two central defensive midfielders doesn't help. I've tried that. I've tried playing 5 at the back, and that doesn't help. So yeah, I'd love to know your suggestions. You let me know in the comments below. And let me know if you've had any similar experiences as well. Thanks a lot for watching the video, and please do give it a thumbs up, and I hope you enjoyed it.